Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the SFFRomCast. My name is Jessica, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Emma. Hello.
hello.
It's the last episode, Jess.
I was gonna say I didn't want to go. Hello and welcome to the last episode ever. No, it's kind of not. It's the last, but it'll be a good one.
Yeah, well, that's it. We saved I would say it's like the pinnacle trope, really, isn't it?
Yes, it's one, but it covers all bases, doesn't it? You know this trope, whatever you read, but it just chef's kiss for the fantasy side of things.
It.
So we should tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Can you tell what it is?
It's like is
enemies to lovers. We're going all out for the last episode.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So should we get started?
For a ride, people.
Hold on to your hat.
So on that note,
let's go.
See you in a minute.
So yeah, hello. Let's get enemies to lovers underway because it might take us quite a while.
It could do. I'm not sure. I'll explain more when I get to my main pick.
Okay. Well, this is it. Last week was the one where I didn't stop talking, so you are allowed a free one.
Okay.
And I've got 2 books for one later as well. So let's keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your first pick?
Okay, so this is Taken by the Horde King by Zoey Draven. So I have discussed these with you, and it is book 5 in the series, and they all have kind of an enemies to loverishness to them. So I'll go a bit into the plot because book 5 it doesn't really, because you would obviously have read 1, 2, 3, and 4 before starting this.
Because you're not chaotic reader.
You're not chaotic, crazy reader. So basically we have this world which is Dakar, and there's loads of different races on it, and the humans on it are not the original race. So they are there, and there's like one big main city where all the good stuff happens, but you have these Varakaners, I think they're called, and they have their hordes. They are the Horde Kings. So they do a massive trial, which is horrendous, by the way, if you read the trial. And they get to, do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I remember he was telling, I've only read the first book.
Yeah. So basically when they decide they want to become this Horde King, they go through these stages in the city. And I think the last is like so many lashes that if you don't die, you are deemed worthy to have your horde.
Oh, sounds a bit like a witch test, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. If you don't burn to death, then well done. So one of those sorts. So so they travel around and they worship their goddess, but there are certain rules that are put in place. So the people who live in these little outskirt villages, they're not allowed to burn things on the floor because it kind of desecrates the ground, and they shouldn't hunt. So they're basically starving or freezing, and they're not living in good places. So when these Horde Kings turn up to have a go at them for lighting a fire or killing a sacred animal, they're already 10 times more pissed at them than anything in the world. So that's kind of how most of the books start. But in this one, I picked this one because to me, it kind of linked into another thing. So the Horde King in this is Rune. And as with the 5th book in, loads of things have been happening within each book. And there's this dark, weird mist that is covering a mountain. I won't go into too much details just in case you want to read the other bits. But so this mist is covering the mountain, and nobody can go into it without losing time and their memories, and it kind of drains their energy. Wow. So the Horde Kings, being the strongest and the biggest and the bravest, they're not as bad, but it still gets to them after a time. But you find out that there are humans living within the mountain it surrounds, and there is one lady who is Mina, and she kind of isn't susceptible to this mist at all. So the humans who live in the mountain, they were slaves, but the people who enslaved them have been killed off by this mist. And the humans, as we seem to have a want to do, have basically turned on themselves and found their new leader and become slaves again. We've seen patterns within the world.
That's right on the money at the moment.
Really,
with what we were talking, we were having a little
UK
discussion before the
politics and-
podcast about the bleakness of human society.
Yes, just in general.
Yeah.
But yes,
Okay.
let's not go into that. We're here
Move
for the
on.
fun stuff. But yeah,
let's
Mina
get to that.
is a bit shy, a bit quiet, and she's seen as backward by some of the other people. So she's treated very badly. So when she goes out into the mist and actually feels free and it just doesn't bother her, she's open, she's strong, she loves it. The leader of this troop called Ben knows this, has pulled some witches in to try and lift these curses, lift the fog, get food back because everybody's starving. But the witch needs a Horde king's heart to make her spell work. And because she's all magic, she knows that the Horde king who is closest to Rune is going to be linked to Mina, as in Fatey Matesy. So they kind of drag Mina in to pull this dude into the mist, get him under the mountain, take his heart, fix everything.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, this is it. He
so
goes
it's like
into
up the stakes even more. Yeah.
So he gets into the mountain, follows this beautiful apparition into it, and they take him away. So he's then dragged in, mind clears. He's been naffed over by her, naffed over by his fated mate, naffed over by his goddess, naffed over by the witches. He is seething. He is not a happy chappy. But it was weird. So it wasn't just enemies to lovers. What I found when I was reading is it was really grumpy sunshine-ish as well, because he was just absolutely, so they injure him, they have to knock him out because he's huge. And she comes in, she sneaks in late when she starts to try and clean him. So she's got so much guilt. And he's just not having any of it. And it's just, it's so awful that she's trying to be nice to him. And he's just, no. And just, but then he has to realize that to get out, she's the only one who can help him because everybody else is evil. So then he has to start trying to be nice to her. And then that all ends up, he gets her out in the end, and it all backfires because he then, I don't know how much to say because I don't want to give too much away. Because I'm going off again. They do get out, and then they reverse the roles. So they get to a point where he's being lovely to her. She thinks that they've kind of made friends.
Right.
He gets her out, and then he locks her up, and then he starts to threaten the life of every single man, woman, and child who are still under the mountain.
Twisty turny, backstabby.
And then she starts to not like him, so then the role reverses back again. It was just really well done.
It's worse when you break the heart of the sunshine person, isn't it?
This was it, and she was so lovely. And she's kind of met this one person who seems to understand that in this one place that she feels safe, and it was just but she's kick-ass in the end, so it's all good.
You've sold me on that one.
Yeah, we go.
I may have
you've
to
just got to.
I've only got to read 3 more books to get. Well, you've filled me in on this mist
this
thing
is it.
and everything.
I can tell you how the mist works, and then you can go on to book 5. So come on then, divulge.
Okay, so mine is the Cruel Prince series. So obviously,
I know where this is going.
If this is my one, that is like, if you haven't heard of this, that's amazing.
Where have you been?
Where you been? It's been around for a while, and it's quite a popular one. I think there's lots of people that love it, and there's some people that really don't like it at all. I think it's either going to do it for you or it isn't.
Yes.
This is kind of my Poison Princess for you. I think.
All right, let's get comfy.
But that's the thing, because it's so well known, and it's like, I've read the whole series now, all 3, and I've reread the whole series again this week.
Along with that,
because I couldn't help it. I was just going through to do the first book, and the thing is, once you read it all, you it's all one big story in your head, isn't it? So you have to try and figure out what happens when and not spoil stuff and things like that. So if anybody hasn't ever heard of this before, you've got Jude, who is one of twins who has been brought to grow up. She's a human mortal, who's been brought to grow up in Fairyland, which is a separate part of our world. So it's like contemporary times, separate part of our world, but obviously normal people don't know it's there. Now, that's because her mother left her stepfather, I guess you'd call him, Maddox, who plays quite a big part in it. And he tracked her down. He is an epic warrior, and he murdered her for it. So then Jude's been raised basically by the man who murdered her mother. And in Fairyland, which is a completely harsh place, they do not respect. Yeah, I do feel like you should read it when you are not COVID fogged, though. I feel like it's such a twisty turny when Jess finally read
so
it.
So much going on. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, it's such a twisty turny story that it must have been like, what the hell is going
what's going on?
here?
Yeah. I was contemplating murder a few times. I have to be honest, reading them. I'm like, what did you do?
Very much like that. Yeah, so she's being raised in Fairyland, and if you know, like the stereotypes of a lot of fairies is the kind of the edge of cruelty that they have, the not being able to lie, those kind of archetypes that you get with them. So yeah, she's not exactly been embraced. She's quite ambitious and she loves strategy. She loves that kind of thing, but she's in this very difficult position where she's obviously got a relationship with Maddox, but she also hates him and feels like there should be revenge there. So, and in addition to that, we have the cruel prince, Cardan, who is he's a bully. And this is what I mean by it being like, this is so out of the realm of kind of books that I usually love, because I don't think I've ever read another bully romance.
Have you not?
I don't think they've ever appealed to me. I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, they're a tough sell. Yeah,
they're a tough sell to me. Somehow this one works for me. It is an outlier in that respect, because there is this isn't like, oh, he seems like he's a bit mean and then you find out it was all misunderstanding. No, he's really mean. He's really cruel, and it's horrible. They target Jude because she doesn't let it go. Her twin, who I have issues with.
Yes.
She's found a different way to sort of survive. They've taken different paths, different routes of survival in terms of temperament and stuff. But yeah, it works for me. It's, even though they're both, and maybe that's what makes it work, is like when you read through the whole series, and obviously the characters grow and you do find out more about them, you know, it's all from Jude's perspective, so you understand what I did anyway, why she's the way she is, and you know, how she gets trapped in these things, and she does grow as a person as their relationship grows too. They kind of end up in this forced proximity type of arrangement where they're tentatively allies, and before one of them stabs the other one in the back, and then it happens again and again. So this is what I mean, it's like proper enemies to lovers, hugely. But they also have this thing where there's parts of themselves that only the other person can understand. I think that's what comes from enemies to lovers a bit, is that no matter how different they are, they can recognize this thing in each other.
There's a peas in the pod bit. Yeah, I remember that bit.
Definitely. So yeah, I love it. I don't know why it does it for me. I love heroes that are like nice, and but
not evil.
Is just he's funny and clever and backstabby and just a bit awful too. And it's like, I don't know.
It just works.
I don't know. I think this, it made me think about how it all kicked off with fairies becoming like popular and stuff, because obviously, you know, I've got of Guns N' Roses as well. And I think, like we were talking about before with like Beauty and the Beast and Robin Hood and stuff like that with monster romance.
Like a mice, yeah.
It's Labyrinth, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Isn't it Labyrinth? Everybody's grown up. The generation
with this stuff, yeah.
were formative when we saw David Bowie in his frilly shirt with his, you know,
these very tight trousers,
very tight trousers and the eyeliner and just being mean, but we didn't
his
care.
magic balls.
We didn't care. Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
I think that's what it is.
Well, when you're mentioning it, my brain is instantly going to like the Zodiac Academy kind of vibe as well.
Yeah,
so you've got the twins in that, and they are mercilessly tormented by the big guns in that.
See, because the Zodiac Academy's been this big thing, and because
I
heard
massive.
it's like a bully romance, I'm like, but maybe I should try it because this works for me. But I don't know. I mean, part of this that also works for me is the cleverness of the scheming. It's all the scheming and the politics, and I do love that. I've always enjoyed it.
Well, you know, and I know, and everybody else will now know, I read the Zodiac Academy just to get to the teacher sex. So that's kind of what it did for me. Because Lance just had to be, Orion was just, it just got to be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
now the world
How many
knows.
books did you have to read to get to that, though?
A few more than I should have. First one was a trial, just because it was a lot of world building that had to go in, but second and third were all right, and then it kind of got a bit too much for me. But you know, each one, I know people who absolutely love it. So but yeah, and then the last one's not out yet. I think they're still waiting for that.
I think they announced that it's not going to be the last one.
Is it not?
2 now? Yeah. Even people that loved it have been like, oh my god, not another cliffhanger.
What happens now?
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh god.
I don't know.
Never know. Maybe I'll go back into it one day.
Doing a romance over 3 books, like a trilogy, I can kind of deal with that.
Yes.
I think any longer than that,
it's kind of trying
a bit much.
You would think somebody wanted to have stabbed the other one by that point,
but I don't know if that's together. Is that classic romances? Is it very clearly that one person's going to end up with another person, or is it more along the lines of what I think of as like urban fantasy, when you have the mix, you know, like with like Sookie Stackhouse novels, and it's actually, like more of a series, and there's lots of different love interests, and you don't
everybody
know who
else
she'll
is
end up with.
She should have ended up with somebody else as well. On that note, I've got a second book.
Otherwise, I was going to say we're going to be talking about a million books in this episode.
If it's not Eric Northman, I'm not reading anymore. So so my second book I also spoke to you about. So the first one is Feather, and there is a trilogy of these. They are kind of interlinked as a series, but they're not. So the concept is they're angels. Feather makes it. It's by Olivia Wilderstein. I'll get that bit in. So it's to do with like fledgling angels, and they have to earn feathers for their wings to ascend and become epicness of angels.
A lot of feathers.
It really is. So who are we with in the first one? Because there's 2 that I'm going to link. So the first book is Lee, and they've got a certain time limit to get all of these feathers, and she needs quite a lot at the end to ascend and get the amount she needs. Now, all of the people on Earth are given rankings to how nice of a person they are. So if you're quite a nice person, hopefully
I'm just having that like fear. Sorry, I'm a social anxiety person. I'm like, oh my god, that's my nightmare. Someone ranking me on terrible.
I'm just debating.
Continue. I'll just have an existential crisis.
Have you got like a brown paper bag next to you just give me a minute. I'm just hoping I'm up in the top. That's all good. So if you're under 10, then you know you're awesome. But they have these people called the triples. So if you are in triple figures, you're not a nice person.
Okay.
So weirdly, the dude that she finds is a Parisian mafia boss, which I've never read before, and I do a lot of mafia. Really awesome. His name is Jared, and he's just having none of it. He don't want anything to do with her, or she kind of goes up to the door. It kind of just, as you'd imagine a nice angel would, to go and have a chat with him, sort of thing. And he's like, no, not having any of this. He's kind of, you get a gist quite early on that he's got an idea, maybe that there's something a bit otherworldly about it. But, So the story is between them and her trying to get him redeemed and get his 100. I'm assuming it's 100, whatever his triple point score is. I can't remember. And in the end, they do end up being friends. But the book finishes, spoilers, with them both being dead. They both die at the end of the book. And
this is why you had to do 2 books.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go read this one book.
Yeah.
Like,
so this was it. And I think I messaged you and went, is it still a romance when there's no happily ever after?
Because this was the one you were talking about.
This one. Because I'm sat there and I'm like, okay, I didn't know where to go. So I picked up the next book, and the next book is called Celestial, and it's other characters. It's Lee's friend and one of the Archangel dudes who tried to help her but didn't in the end, and super guilt and stuff. And it goes through their happily ever after, and it's like, okay, what the?
Hang on.
Yeah. It was just.
Did they not get a happily ever after then?
They did. Book 3 is called Starlight.
Oh, okay.
And then you get this couple who are Naya and Adam, and you figure out the dude from the second book, this Archangel who was who didn't help out Lee when he could have done. He goes back and he retrieves the souls of Jared and Lee, and he puts them into newborns. He kind of gets the carcass. I don't know what to call
not sure that is the word, Jess.
I don't know what you call it. Zoey triggers. We'll put triggers in. Yeah, he gets the vessel.
What is the trigger for that?
What else are you going to call it?
If you are triggered by Jess, don't listen.
My husband's just not going to listen to this one then. Yeah, so they get this infant newborn vessel. I don't know what else.
That's a nice word. Yeah.
And he puts the souls in, one girl, one boy. He keeps one with his partner, and he gives the other, the boy, to his friend, and they raise them separately.
Okay.
So that book is like reincarnations of the 2 characters falling in love again.
Yeah.
And again, they are enemies lovers, because he is kind of like a renegade, bit of a vigilante. He doesn't want to do what the angels are telling him to do.
Right.
So he's up out there, the bad boy of the entire thing. Yeah. And she is like, because she's like the daughter of the Archangel, she's kind of goody two shoes, and she kind of bumps into him and wants in, and he's like, you can do one, no chance. You're going to go and tell like bloody Gabriel over there exactly what we're doing. So and it's their kind of growing together and kind of finding themselves and each other along the way. But it was just kind of really weird.
That is different. Yeah.
And it was just like, I had many moments of
should I can't see, this would just not what I would have given up after book 1. I would be like, really? What the hell?
In this instant,
you're not playing me like that again. I'm not going on to another book.
In this instant, though, it would have been good to jump to 3 and then go back to 2. I would have allowed it.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
You wouldn't have given a shit. But
do you feel like reading the first one makes the third book, when they get that happily ever after, like it enhances it? Like if you just read 3, would you feel happy with that as a romance on its own, or do you need 1 and 3 together?
I don't know. I suppose I would have been happy just with 3, because I think with my head how it was where 1 ended, because it's kind of put into you that romance has to finish in a certain way, and it just kind of really hit me. But it was such a lovely, nice surprise to get that whole new story from very similar but totally different perspectives.
And I mean, you've let people know now, so that's it.
I've mentioned,
but I don't think that's a bad thing. It's not like that's not the kind of spoiler that, because like you're saying, you don't want to pick up a romance book and not have the happily ever after or happily for now at the end. So knowing that it's just a longer term thing, because I mean we do talk about series, obviously that's like with Cruel Prince, it's certainly not happily ever after the first book.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It is.
Some of them it takes a little bit longer, but it's just whether or not going in. That's what I worry about with these books. I'm like, what is the aim of this book? Am I going to get that happily ever after if I go in for the long haul, or am I going to be really annoyed
really
that I've spent a lot of time reading these books and I don't get what I want at the end of it? So
I suppose, yeah, had you come in, I don't know if it was released as a series, if all three came out at the same time. I could obviously have a look, because Google is an awesome thing now. But yeah, that would be the thing. If it was all released together, then it's mastery, because then you've kind of engaged people from the start, and you've got all of it there, which is what I had, luckily. So, but yeah, it was wicked. I read all three, so it obviously did a fantastic job of it.
Exactly.
And I loved them. So it's wicked.
Right. Well, my first mention is Prize of the Warlord by Rebecca F. Kenny. I think she has the initial in there. And this is quite similar vibes to the I was going to call it the Dothraki, but Horde King. We all know it's meant to be Dothraki.
Weirdly, it's not the Game of Thrones books. It's the other one.
No, not those ones. Talk about reading lots of books and not getting what you want at the end of it.
Oh God, don't even.
But wait, enemies to lovers, that gloves are off this episode.
Jesus wept.
Right,
just enemies. Yeah. So let's read this book. Sorry.
Anyway, so this one is it's a premise. So there's aristocracy. It's kind of based around the nobles, and the heroine, what's her name? I did write it down. Ixiana, I think her name is. It's either her name or it's a place. I've written it down. So, nice. Sounds pretty, doesn't it? She's going to be in this arranged marriage to someone, but what happens is a warlord comes in and abducts her. Yay! Because they've been pushed out of the land, and there's all these clans that have been left to live in very dangerous, unhospitable type of environments, kind of, again, similar, but it's kind of a flip. So whereas it's with the Horde Kings, they've got the means, haven't they, and they're kind of in charge. This is the other way. They abduct her in order to try and ransom, try and negotiate to get some land for their people, and improve their lives. That's Cronin. That's such a warrior name, isn't it? Cronin.
The barbarian.
The additional aspect with this is, so I believe it was written as a Kindle Vella, so it's like the serial type. So I think chapters get released, which means it's very pacey. There's a lot of action because you're always sort of pulling people in. You want to pull people into the next chapter, so it's great. In that, it really engages you. What's also interesting is Ixiana's, she's got illnesses. They're not really defined in the same way that we would, but if you think about food allergies and asthma and things like that, so she's not seen as being a valued asset at home kind of thing. She's not seen as being useful to do certain things because she has to rest a bit more and pace herself and be sensible about what she does, but she's still full of fight, and him coming to see that in her, because he's got a very much a mindset to begin with weakness. He doesn't want weakness,
strength, power,
even though they've got that connection immediately, there's already sharing a tent and stuff, but they're proper enemies. She's trying to get away, and there's monsters in these unhospitable places, and it's cool. It's very cool. It's one of those pacey reads you really get through, and it's good. I enjoy that.
Love that.
I want to read more by her, definitely.
Well, this is it. I've done a trial on all those dreams and stuff, and you do find that so much goes on so quickly. It does pulls you in. If you're an epic reader, I can see why people just devour this sort of stuff. Love it. Definitely. All right, so my last mention, I think you've done it.
Last mention,
I know.
Okay.
I'm going to drag it out properly now. No, I'm not. So my last mention is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Muhurin.
I
again with names. We're rubbish at this. Sorry
So
if it's
sorry,
wrong.
people.
Please
So
fix us.
sorry.
Yeah. So Serpent and Dove. So firstly, I saw the cover and I kind of I wanted to touch it in Waterstones when I saw it because it was so pretty. And then I read the back and it is a witch being forced to marry a witch hunter. And it was just...
Oh, they're forced to marry. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew it was a witch and a witch hunter. I didn't realise there was that.
But just imagine what can come from just that. Witch hunter.
Oh, yeah. Enemies to lovers. Tick.
Yeah. Big box ticked. But yeah, so he doesn't know that she is a witch. So she's kind of, again, this is in Paris, I think. This is roaming around Paris. So she's running around with her friends. She is quite an epic high up witch. But she doesn't see like her coven up and away. There's problems in the background.
Right.
And obviously because there's lots of witch hunters that nobody's allowed to know who they are, what they are.
Right.
But she kind of gets caught by this witch hunter for doing not very good stuff. And it's linked to the church, as all things are. So yeah, the head of the church drags this, the witch hunter, I'll call them by the names, Reed, drags Louise to the church, and the head of these witch hunters goes, all right, well, you've got to marry then, you've got to cement the deal, make her a better person, blah, 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 blah. So he does, but yeah, he doesn't know she's a witch, and she is living in the heart of all of the witch hunters with the big epic high witch hunter. And she's obviously got to be she's got to be stum. And it's kind of her trying to deal with these people who absolutely despise her and all of her kind, and still going out and finding and killing them. You know, just imagine trying to have to live in that. And it's kind of like a monk-esque thing that they've got nothing. And they can marry these witch hunters, but they don't often. So he hates her anyway, because, you know, they've had to create this massive sacred bond that he doesn't want. So they're sharing like this tiny little cell with each other, with like a wooden bed and a bathroom. And I think she kind of sleeps in the bath and he has a bed, but because he's quite noble, he then sleeps on the floor and she has the bed. And you can kind of, all of the close proximity bits pieces start working. They fall in love, and then obviously the inevitable happens. We find out that her mom, that Louise's mom, is kind of like the head witch, and that Louise was only born of somebody to be a sacrifice. That's why she legged it. So basically her mom is out searching for her, so all of these witches keep coming in and being murdered because they're after her.
Oh no.
And then it's kind of like she's leading all of these people to the witch hunters. And it's just kind of, it was just so epic. And when he finds out what she is, that's it. He's just, because
when's his redeeming moment? Because at the moment it's like you explained,
there isn't any.
Sounds like a bit of a twat.
No, he slowly
then they
but
fall
surely
in love. How does that bit happen?
Well, no, that's it. So they kind of they go out together, and obviously being like the church kind of the place, there's people with, so the witches, I think they magic people and they make them kind of lose themselves. So they've got all of these people up at the top in the inner sanctum, I don't know, churchy name places, the top bit of a church, there's rooms, religious stuff happens, I'm sure. So they're healing these people.
I can't even help you, I'm just it sounds good to me.
I'm sure that's what happens.
I went to a church, but still don't know.
You're going to say I went to a church once. He had buildings, but so the people up there that they're trying to help, so she goes up there, and another witchy friend has snuck in and kind of is helping her try and look after these people, and then he kind of starts to see the good in her, that actually it's not a bad choice, and then they go out and around and help the people, so she sees the good in him, and she obviously knows that witches can be horrendous people, because her mom is there to kill her.
They don't they're not being persecuted completely unnecessarily by the sounds of it.
So there were different types of witch. So I can't remember what she is, but I remember her friend is like a blood witch. So she has to cut herself to get blood flowing to get her magic going. So there's like white ones and red ones, and there's good and bad. So you've kind of got a mix of all sorts of the things. We're not discussing magic, so I've missed finer points out.
It's fine. That's enough for me.
But in the end, he kind of he does nearly sacrifice himself to save her. So he's all epic, but he gets really miffed and kicks her out because she's there and there's like a smell that comes with the magic they use. So she's kind of like a bewitched moment. She kind of goes and just hopes nobody sees. But there's a little lad who's training to be a witch hunter, and he kind of figures out that she is one, but doesn't say anything. He kind of keeps on her side. Good. And then all the big bad epic happens, and he's like, you know, and you didn't tell me. And he just explodes at his mates and stuff. It's just, but he comes round in the end.
Blimey, that's a nest of vipers, definitely.
So many
scenario. Yeah.
And then
that's almost made me forget. What's my one?
Sorry.
This is it. You know when you get like really into it
and you're like, shit, it's me.
I'm supposed to say something now.
All the time. I like this book. I've not read this one.
So my last one was The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, which is by Megan Bannon. This is fairly new, fairly recently out. So this one's kind of an exception to the rule as well. So when we were talking about enemies to lovers before, we were like kind of, it works really well in fantasy romance because they're like epic stakes and they can be like witch and witch hunter and stuff. That's not the case with this one. It's like they're enemies because they basically have misunderstood each other at the wrong time and been in bad places and stuff like that, which you wouldn't think would be an epic enemies to lovers. Another exception to the rule is this one is like, it's like a retelling of You've Got Mail. Do you know?
Oh, okay. I know.
I watched the film
a while ago. Yes.
Yeah. It's not one of my favorites. Much as I love Tom Hanks, Ryan, you know, standard when we were like growing up.
This is it.
I never really liked You've Got Mail. They don't. I didn't like how he knew that they were corresponding, but she didn't. I never liked that side of it. I didn't like it when they got together and she was
the treachery in there.
Like,
forgiving it. That's fine.
This one does it better. It's like, and this kind of feeds into my whole thing of, you know, when people are always saying, oh, why are they remaking Batman for the 50 millionth time? I mean, that's a fair point.
Yes, it
when
really
there's all
is.
these romantic films out there, rom-coms, we need more of them. See, I kind of think in the back of my head, they don't always translate well to film. So sometimes the film doesn't work very well, but the book works really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel, I'm not just one of those people that's like, the book's always better than the film. No, sometimes films are better than books. It depends how it's done. But so in this one, because you can get inside their heads and you see the characters, you can really like understand the decisions that they make and why it happens. So what also makes this book so cool is it's just so imaginative, this setting. So the Undertaking, obviously, she is an undertaker. This is the book that was recommended to us, you know, like millions of years ago. Yeah. So I had to read it. So yeah, she's an undertaker, and I won't get too much into the plot actually because it's involved.
It'll take a while, and I'm trying not to get it on my TBR as we're
talking. But he's a marshal, and one of his jobs is protecting this area that used to have gods, and the gods have gone, but there's magic there, and you get zombies of a kind. I didn't expect zombies. I was like, this is the book, right? And it's like, it looks really cute. And even like they say You've Got Mail, and you're like, I did not expect zombies, but it's good.
That might have made you like the film more, obviously.
yeah, maybe. Well, no, if they made this one into a film, maybe.
Yeah, we've watched this one.
because
Netflix.
there's all the story behind that, which is did I say he was a demigod as well?
No, you did not. Oh,
I did not. And he's quite grumpy, but he's very lonely as well. He's like off on his own, and he loses a lot of people from his life. He doesn't know whether he's going to be immortal or not, because they don't know when they're a demigod. So he never knows whether or not connections will be worth making, because will he outlive everybody or not?
That's depressing.
And
Bless him.
Honestly, this is, I don't think I've cried at a romance for years, and this one made me cry at the end. But it's a good romance, don't worry. The guarantee is there, don't worry. And she's running the Undertakers, which is, her dad's been ill and it should be passing to her brother, but her brother doesn't want to do it. She's overworked and they don't know what's going on. None of them want it. And then there's this other rival firm that's trying to like
always the way
take over and stuff. And yeah, but they just rub each other up the wrong way. So he brings her these bodies that have been, like when they're the zombies, but he can stop them. And then they need to be like given a burial of some kind. And she does it kind of like how, when we were reading Reborn yesterday, she feels like what she does is important and she cares about it.
Of course.
And she doesn't, he doesn't appreciate that about her to begin with. But then they start to correspond. But it's like, he just writes a letter thinking it won't go to anybody just because he's lonely to get his thoughts out on a page. But they have like this magical correspondence. There are these like messengers that used to work for the gods. So, and they have outposts, and then they know where the letter's meant to go. So they brought deliver it to her because it was meant to go to her, and then they go back and forth. And the one he gets, the messenger person he gets, is this it's this rabbit. It's like and he's foul-mouthed and he drinks. He wants to be paid in whiskey and stuff. It's excellent. It really is.
What's so that cool kids film that reminds me of? Well, you get Santa's the big Russian dude with the tattoos. What's that one?
Oh yeah.
Reminds me of that.
It made me think of that, but yeah, I don't think he's as big because he's enormous, the Easter Bunny.
Oh God, yeah, the Easter Bunny's huge.
Yeah, it's Hugh Jackman. Yes, the voice for that. Which is why they call him a kangaroo, don't they? But yes. We're digressing.
Yeah, we're digressing. We are. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's funny and sweet. But it's proper enemies to lovers in a kind of way that works in contemporary rom-com, but it's in a fantasy setting.
Does the job.
So it's a little bit different. It's less stabby than the other ones. If you wanted a little change of pace with your enemies to lovers, there you go.
I have to say, everyone I've read with letters in, I have really enjoyed.
Yeah, because I tend to avoid them. Really? I tend to think like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this, because does it mean that they don't actually meet up? And I like the love interests to be on the page together. Okay. And develop that way. But I did enjoy this one. So again, it might be that I need to be a bit more open in the things that I'm trying.
See, I think I'm just an emotional cripple, so I find it quite a lot easier to put words down on paper and like set fire to them afterwards. So, I think real emotions can be poured onto a page because nobody else can see them.
That's it. Yeah, and that's quite a nice thing that they talk about when they're like writing to each other and they're debating whether or not to meet up and, whether or not they, should, whether they'll live up to each other's expectations and stuff.
Should always. Well, okay, maybe the era of catfishing, maybe not so much.
Yeah, there are risks.
In my head. Yeah, children never.
If it's a cute fantasy novel, yeah,
that's fine. In real life, please tell friends, tell parents, tell everybody. Take a dog with you, really bitey one. It's fine.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Well, I got one more question to ask you before we go, because it's the end of the series, and I just thought, has this made you have any moments about your own personal tastes and preferences where you've been trying to pick books throughout this series?
Not
Has
really.
It made you notice anything different that you
no,
didn't
because
think
they
was
all
necessarily true? No.
They're all quite dark, and they've all got warriors who are all quite
you knew
grouchy.
yourself quite
Yeah,
well.
I knew it. What I found
enough.
is when I read, I can get really lost in it. So I read and read and read and read and read, and then I sometimes have to go, oh, what did I miss? And I have to go back a little bit.
Okay.
So I can get really engulfed in it. But what I found is I'm paying more attention now, and I notice the little details. So like if I'm editing, then I stop and I can pay more attention. But that is what I found. It's like a bit of an edit process.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, I found that I'm a chaotic reader. Just I'm ordered but chaotic.
Yeah, but you'll still like flick back and forth.
Yes.
Through the books.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the worst way. It was when I read Cujo. I remember years ago. And I remember, I know. It's not a difficult life that you can read my entire life story from that book.
It's not
I read
difficult to see how
under
we've
10
ended at this point.
And I remember reading it, and other spoilers, but this is older than I am, this book, come on. And then going, oh shit, the kid's dead, because she puts him in a car, and she kind of then fights the dog off, gets in the car and chats to the kid. But there's like one line where it goes, and the corpse, the baby is dead, and but she drives away. And then I had to go, Jesus, and keep reading back.
You missed that bit.
I missed the fact that she's driving along with her child who's already dead, and she's still fighting off this rabid dog. So it's a thing that I have.
Yeah. Sometimes stuff can slip by you. You think you're like reading too quickly because you're getting so into it. Sometimes you can end up like...
Anybody who knows me will know, don't wave at me when you're walking past, because I am blinkered. I am just straightforward. People wave, they did the horns. I remember,
I'm like, it clicks. Like when I'm a road away, I'm like, oh, that person waved at me. Whoops. My brain is already processing other things. It's off in la la land while I'm walking, especially if I've got my earpods in and I'm like listening to music.
To something.
I've got the soundtrack going from a work in progress.
Really is, or my brain is going, where am I going to put that thing to make that thing work? And then I'm at school, I'm like, oh, awful. What did you then? On the back of that?
I think I did. I think like the magic one made me realise clearly there's a trend to the kind of magic that I like, and that I find interesting. But also it made me like look at the exceptions to rules on things that what I thought I like. It's like, well, actually these books I want to pick don't really fall into what I thought was my thing, which makes total sense because I'm very chaotic. And there's always an exception to the rule. I think that's what it really made me realise is like you think, oh, I don't like love triangles, and then one of your favourite books is a love triangle. It's weird like that, and it all comes down to the execution, I guess.
Well, this is
how
it.
the author does it, basically.
You can't fault it. That's the same. Same as me. I don't mind love triangles, but when the babies come in, I'm like, that's the thing for me. I want my babies at home, not in my books. But no offense to anybody who does, all good. But you kind of do notice that thing, and it's if it's done well, anything is good.
And I guess that's why it's kind of nice to do this. And then if people are listening, it can be the same sort of thing. So you might have heard about a book and thought, oh, I don't really think that's my cup of tea. And then we can have a chat about it. And a little thing we say, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, can just give you that little bit of, maybe I should try that. Because that might appeal to me. Because there's always more to it than the tropes, I guess.
Well, this is it. Sometimes just a title will pull me in, and I'll read a title and I'm like, I really want to get into that.
That time I got drunk and saved a demon. That is a
this
title
is
and
it.
a half.
It's like one day somebody's going to go, what book you reading? And I'm going to have to say something like that, and it's like I'd even Pride and Prejudice. I can't even say that though, because I know everybody's going to go.
It's just the go-to. Pride and Prejudice.
What are you reading? Porn. I'm that porn.
Monster smart.
Basically. So
well, there we go.
It is over.
We're wrapped. We got to wrap up now.
We
do
the
thing. And come and tell us whether or not you enjoyed the new style, the new season, whether or not
awesome.
you've got certain books that you like that fall within the tropes we've talked about, any ideas for different tropes we could do if we did
Yes.
another season like this? That'd be
Yes.
cool to know.
Yeah, or any that you wouldn't, as you said, any that you haven't read but you now might.
Yeah, definitely. If you go ahead and read these ones, what you think of them. Yeah, so we're on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter at SFFRomCast.
We're on all the podcasty places, so the Spotify's, the Anchors, the YouTubes, the Apples, all where you can put things in your ears and listen and or see people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll probably be back for a Christmas special.
Yeah, of course we will.
I think so. We'll get a couple of months and then we get a bit itchy. We're like,
this is it. Yeah, I've had this idea. Yeah, it's like the A-Team. I've had this idea.
Yeah.
We should just give it a try.
Yeah, that's it. Have a bit of fun
when the plan comes together.
Right.
Cool. So till we're here again, be good to each other. And
thank you for joining us.
Yes, read all the books.
Yeah, love it and share your love like we do.
Yes, all the time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.